March the 31st. It's the end of the month. As we're headed into the month of April now, things are going to get a little more interesting as we approach the end of the semester. And then we'll go for a break and we're back all over again for the second semester for you guys. So let's continue where we left off in the last segment. I'm going to share my screen now as we continue the Photoshop module of the digital imaging and digital illustration segments. All right, I'm gonna move over to my desktop here and just open the folder where we left off on the in-person class. The thing is about that one, there was no audio. Now, a lot of you did it in class, so I'm not too concerned. To be honest with you, the instructions are right there. Normally, I would give this class as a quiz, so I wouldn't even do a video. So the fact that you already have a video and you have the instructions on how to do this was the instructions of step by step of doing the entirety of this exercise. It goes over this, merging documents, scaling images and layers, blending layers, masking effects, clipping and saving. All this is captured in the video that I recorded with no audio, but I showed you all the steps on how to do, and you have the written steps here. If you have any questions, come to class. I'll be more than happy to go over some of the things with you, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And the resulting factor was building one of these. Oh, look, we even made an animated GIF of the hawk flying. That stuff's coming up later. But the main thing is we produced a WebP file as well as a JPEG to produce for web. So this was a good review that covered all the intermediate and advanced practices in Photoshop for you building a creative design. Okay, because let's be honest, you can only do so much with your web design skills. When it comes to putting forth an image or a combination of images you want to build for the website, you can do a lot more by putting your Photoshop skills into practice, especially when it comes to animations and things like that we're going to be covering in the next few classes. Before we get to the website build, now that we covered all these advanced layer classes and lessons, today we're going to build an actual low fidelity wireframe website. Okay. So this means that you're going to be approaching this web design built, I guess, from the notion of the like a UX UI perspective. I'm sure you're doing a class with Felicia this semester, learning the UX UI stuff in programs like XD and Figma. Now, Photoshop is a big proponent of any type of design, especially when it comes to interface design. And just to show you some of the samples that we're going to be utilizing here. Right? These are like what wireframes look like. And I'll do CNN example. So here's a popular one here. You know, there's even a video.
Hi, I'm Jussi from Volkswagen with a quick introduction to Wirify pages in the wire. Then when specific example.
So he does a tutorial basically on how to create this into this from right to left. So all you see on the right is a bunch of gray placement holders, boxes, rectangles, nothing really, just design elements. And then you convert those elements into a high fidelity content elements like images, videos, text, contents, and styles. So this is the same approach that you can do in many, many programs. Photoshop is excellent at doing this because not only you have the power to manipulate images and do some advanced layout compositions and things, you can also export the assets for the actual real website built, which is the HTML version. As you know, you're learning already the HTML, the CSS, a little bit of a JavaScript. All these are functionality things that will help you not only serve and mark up and style the website, but to also add functionality. So design is a big proponent to this because let's face it, with a bad design, doesn't matter how functional the website is, no one is going to use it. Okay. So what I have put together here for us this evening is an example of, let's say, Amazon. Now, if you look at the old Amazon website, I don't know if you remember Amazon in the 2000s. I was even going to do the 90s, right? This is what Amazon used to look like, okay? Like this. It was a book website, okay? Very simple little website that had, look, this was Amazon back in the day, basically, right? So even from that till now, you can see it's a really, really robust website that captures pretty much all the images and graphics. But if I resize it, notice how the 4 columns become 3, and then it stops here. So it doesn't have a mobile version per se. That's because they have an app. As soon as it detects your app, it modifies to a mobile version. So it's quite advanced in that sense. But how do you even build a website like this? Like, where do you start? Like, does this even have a width? I don't know what your current width is when you guys do, website builds in your code. But if I zoom out, Command minus here, you can see even Amazon has a fixed width, and it goes from here all the way to there. And we'll discover what that width is and even copy it and build our wireframe and mockup to match Amazon's width. Okay. If I show you some other websites, any website that you want to see, do the same thing, you can see that they all have a fixed width. Unless you have a percentage, they will scale to a percent. Notice how like the menu stays always stretched, like the top header. That's because that's percentile and it's always filling in the full width of the browser window, but the content does not. Okay. Any website you go to, you will see a similar type of consequence. Okay. So let's go to, I don't know, we looked at the sports website. Are you guys like into hockey? So NHL.com. Okay, here's the hockey website. Again, if I zoom in, a lot of these websites even do have some tricks. They fade in and fade out the background to like a black or a blue or something so they can catch the end. People don't normally do this. Okay, I'm just showing you this from a designer's perspective so you can see how the backgrounds are built. Okay, and things like this, like the interactive menus and stuff, those are developed. So you don't have to worry about designing that per se. All right. So now that you have a little bit of a background knowledge on analyzing and comparing websites and doing some, you know, I guess research, let's go back to Amazon because we are going to design the Amazon website prototypes right now. Okay. So we're going to start with analyzing the width first. Let's all go ahead and measure the width. I'm going to do Command 0 because that's the actual real size of the page. I'm going to increase the browser window by double clicking. You can clearly see the gray edges here, which means I did capture the width. Last time I checked, it was close to 1500 pixels in width. So when I do Command Shift 4 and I start from here, go all the way across, look at this, 1500 pixels exactly. Okay, so it is all in all 1500 pixels, the content of the width of Amazon's website. We're going to design the prototype with that in mind. Okay. Another website that looks similar, like we're not copying stuff here. Okay. It's like a car. All the cars have 4 wheels, let's say. Some of them have more or less, depending on the type of car you're comparing to. But the frame's usually generally the same. It's the content that makes the websites different. Like, what kind of car make, what kind of tires, what kind of interior, what kind of exterior, what color is it, the styles and things like that. That's what makes the websites different. But the fundamentals, pretty much it's all the same now. Okay. All across, they all have to be browser compliant and things like that. So if I go to, eBay, this was before Amazon. This was the website that was making way more money than Amazon was, right? So you can see here how a similar approach is taken, but a different layout, different design altogether. We all know where eBay is right now versus Amazon, not even close. Okay. to what Amazon is. So these are the more of the robust, e-commerce, Shopify type of platforms. Okay, Shopify is another platform, of course, that sells products and does all kinds of stuff. So if we're gonna build something like that in Photoshop, then we go ahead and build the wireframe for it first. Okay. Now with the previous class, it did something similar, so I'm just gonna follow suit and do the same thing with you guys. I did open up a real template here to show you how Photoshop was used to build an actual template of a website. So if I go ahead and open that up, it's here. There it is. So this was a template that I found online. A lot of people make Photoshop templates and they sell them. Even if you make WordPress websites or other template monster stuff, they sell you the Photoshop template. Why is a Photoshop template? Because then you can go ahead and design and change anything that you like and then convert this into like an HTML website. Let's face it, it's easier to make a design than it is to code and make the website a functionality based program. I was using a template and stuff, I understand. But where it comes to custom made websites, it's easier to change things like, let's say, book, it says, you know, um, meeting instead of book. Okay. So I can change all these things. Okay. Look, this truck here, there's a little shiny element. Okay. There's the picture, there's the header, there's a subheader, there's the call to action. All this is done into layers in Photoshop. Okay. So you can see here how this was all built in Photoshop to make it look like the website that it is like right now. So I can really move this whole thing up and design it and then export it and get all these little elements to help me build the actual real HTML. And this is where the beauty is about merging Photoshop with what you guys are doing right now in your other classes. All right. So not only design, but it's production. Like how would you produce the website from design to actual development mode? Okay. All right. Or the front end. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this away. Don't save. And to better understand this is to build something from scratch. So we're going to see how wide the Amazon was, right? How big is this? Let's do Command I. I'll bet you any, look, it says 3000 pixels because the resolution is 150, but if it's 72 uh, pixels, then it's 1500 pixels. Okay, so, but originally I guess it was bigger, so it's responsive. But if I open this with Photoshop, okay, and if I go to image size and I make it 72 DPI because that's what the DPI is, okay, 72, it's 1500 pixels in width, and that's the way it should be when it comes to widths. Why am I telling you this? It's because when you create a new document in Photoshop now that we know how to make you did the social media advert, okay? We did a lot of, basic design features in the program. Now it's time to put it to your course purpose of creating a website into the web development and design practice. Photoshop, how it can help you build a website. Now in Illustrator, we're able to do a simple wireframe. If you remember, we did a wireframe for like low fidelity and high fidelity UI kits. Okay, we did all that. In here, you would build the actual layout because then you can export it to your HTML counterpart. So watch here, when I go to web, you can choose between common size, which is 1366, large, which is 1920, medium, 1440, minimum 1024, or small. I like medium size and maybe just increase that a bit, or I can go with large. Either one of these I'm okay with. Let's go with this one. And notice how it's 72 because anything that goes on the internet is 72 DPI. I'm just going to make this a little bigger. Perhaps I'll make it, maybe I'll do 1800 pixels. 1800 pixels by 1800 pixels. Okay. But let's just go with here. I'll make it even numbers for you guys. 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. I like to do that. Even math. Why am I doing this? Because you're going to get a perfect square. Okay. So it'll look like this. And I left the artboard feature on. So I'm just going to shut it off because I like you to use artboards when you have multiple pages. Now, because we're not, just don't forget to shut it off unless you're doing multiple pages. We can do multiple artboards. But because we're taking the template approach, you should just shut off the artboard feature so there's no compromise. So this is with the artboard. This is without the artboard. Even if you have an artboard, you can always go, flatten image so it'll be normal. You know what I mean? You can always go back and forth. So you don't necessarily have to do the new document. I wanted to show you both cases. And if you want to make it an artboard, you can just go right click and convert to new artboard here. Okay. So you can just make an artboard and there's your artboard. If you want to go back and forth, not that I recommend you do that, but just so you have full control of how to go in between, you can. All right. I'm just going to press undo because I like to have just a simple background layer. So we're building the Amazon website, and keeping that in mind, I'm going to use that as a reference here. We're not going to make it exactly like this, but we'll try to create a similar type of structure or attribute. As I showed you earlier, a lot of these websites look similar. Okay, they're just the back end is different and the content and the main functionality and stuff is all different because it's customized, right? But ideally, product website's a product website. Doesn't matter what you sell on it, you can build such a similar looking template. So we're going to put a menu, logo, perhaps a search menu. We are going to put some products here, maybe a hero banner, a carousel, some other images. Notice how this is divisible by 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6, 4, 6, 2, 2 and 2 or 3, right? The reason why I'm throwing these numbers at you is because most designers use a 12 column grid system. Okay, so the 12 column grid looks like this. Okay, this is your 12 column grid. So you divide everything into 12 because 12 is a great common denominator. Because you can put like 4 into 12 times 3, 3 times 4 into 12, 6 times 2 goes into 12, 2 times 6 goes into 12, and so on and so forth. Here's another breakdown. Okay, so 1, 6 and 6, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1. Like that's a 12 column setup. And this is what you practice now with your HTML by making sections, columns, and things like that. So we have to keep this in perspective when we build the template, because in Photoshop, we're going to have to build a 12 column layout. To do that, we open up the rulers, right? Command R, and you get to go ahead to the side here and drag the guides out and measure it accordingly. So let's say I want to do 12, I'm going to do this and do that. And of course, this is inaccurate. And I'm not telling you to do this, but this is what we had to do before. And this will take us a long time. And to do it accurately, do an even 12 column setup, and I would measure it and stuff. And eventually we'll do it, save it, and use it furthermore for as a template going forward. Well, the good news is you don't have to do this anymore. So much easier. It got easier because what you want to do now is I'm going to go to guides. I'm going to clear the guides for now. What you can do now, ever since I would say 2015, 16, 17, this came about. A lot of designers were getting impatient doing this every time. So Photoshop was able to provide a feature called View Guides, New Guide Layouts. If you want to write this down, you want to screen capture it, go ahead. Now's your chance. Because once you access the new guide layout, you're gonna create a new guide layouts like this. And I had this saved from last time, but if you put like 6, you'll create 6 columns, 8 columns, maybe 20 columns, as many columns as you like. But because we're doing the designer's kind of code, we're going to use a 12 column number to divide these with. Now the gutter is going to be 20. I like to have a little bit of space. And I also like to have a margin. Now we did 2000 pixels and we measured Amazon is 1500 pixels. So 2000 minus 1500 is 5000. So if we split 500. So if we split 500 left and 500 right, that means it's 250. So we'll do 250 from the top, 250 from the left, and 250 from the right. And that gives us 1500 pixels entirety. Okay, 1500 pixels. The bottom is the footer, doesn't matter. Sure, we'll give it 100. Okay, and that's how we can build this template to start with. This could be a great Amazon type of wireframe design template that we're making. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to save this as, first we'll lock the guides. So we're going to go lock guides, and we're going to save this as low fidelity wireframe. Okay, we're going to save it onto the desktop computer. On the desktop, save. Okay, now we put our ingredients on it. Placement holders, boxes, contents, things like that. Okay. So if we're going to have like a menu on top here, we're going to create like layers and groups. We're going to use the rectangle tool to designate our sections. So with the rectangle tool and keeping these grayscale colors, look, you have your grayscale here. I'm going to go with the medium gray perhaps. And I'm going to go ahead and drag a rectangle all the way across like this. Okay. And I'm also going to make sure when I go to view, I snap to guides because I want to make sure it snaps nicely when I do this. It snap nicely to the guides, and also it snaps to um, document bounds because this way it'll go right to the edge. It'll stick to the edges nicely like that. So it's going to stick to the document bounds and my guides. This is all under here. Snap to guides and document bounds, not layers, because then it gets too sticky. So leave it on these two and it should be okay. All right. So that's going to be my, like, let's say my top header with my navigation and everything in place. I'm going to create a brand here. So I'm competing with Amazon here. It's called Amazon. We're going to create, the Amazon River is the biggest. Well, I think Nile River is the longest. We're going to call this Nile.com. Okay. So we're going to use the content tool here. We're going to click. We're going to go www.nile.ca. Oh, and I have the type tool on. Paragraph, character, turn this off so it's nice and lowercase. And then I'm able to bring this up here, and there's our website. So there's our brand, okay? And our menus are gonna go over here, okay? So to put the menu, I'm gonna use the type tool again. Simply just click. Be careful not to click here because it's gonna go. Sometimes it goes in. If this is selected, it's gonna put it inside the box. Because if it wasn't, it puts it separate. So I'm gonna go home, couple capital letters, space, 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 vertical space, 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 about, space, 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 and then products, services, contacts, FAQ. I think I have enough. So I'm gonna go make this smaller. I'm just using the point size here. I'll go with maybe 30 points so I can see it all. and I can move it all the way over here. So this could be my website or my menu for the website. And I'm going to tuck this over here, put this down here, right? See, what you see is what you can build it like afterwards. But I'm going to keep this within my 12 column grid. Now, there's no layout when it comes to the menu. It's all HTML and CSS. So not to worry. We're just going to build this like we see it. All right. I'm going to maybe perhaps put a search bar here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the rectangle tool, do a little search bar. And this will be and I can put an actual search icon. Okay. For that, we might have to borrow Illustrator for a bit. Or I can just get one online. What do you think? Whatever is easier for us. So we're going to go search icon, right? Let's see if we can find one here. What do you know? There we go. Right click. Oh, this one's not good. I'll go with this one. Copy image, paste, transform, Command T, resize, put all in there. Boy, it's going to be a little small, this one, but you get my point, right? You get to build this as you see it. That's when the columns become more interesting now as we build the actual website going forward. I'm going to group some of these elements together. Perhaps these two here, I'm just going to move them over to the right. So it's accessible that way. All right. Great. I think I'm okay with the header. Speaking of the header, let's group all these elements here and call it header. As I'm going to, it's already grouped. Well, from before this is grouped. So I'm just going to take this out. This shouldn't exist, okay? So I'm just going to delete it. I'll teach you how to make a new group. So to make a group out of all this, I'm going to select all the layers with Shift, and I'm going to press Command G or Control G, or I can just right click and do convert to not smart object, group from layers. So this puts it all, and I'll call it header. So this puts it all in a header layer format. Nice and easy, tucked away, so I can then build. I'll keep the anatomy very simple. I'm going to do a header, body, and footer. Okay. And then after that, you guys can expand more on other sections and stuff as you have with your other classes. Okay. Any questions so far? Because the next part is me building these other wireframe placement holders and keep building this website all in Photoshop. And of course, the benefit is you'll see later what Photoshop has great exporting capabilities to make this into a real prototype. Okay. All right, so everyone's fine. Let's go back to my recording here. Perfect. Just gonna minimize the window. Please speak up if my screen goes off. It did interfere earlier today once. I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay, so now let's integrate this 12 column structure. Because as I demonstrated earlier, it's important that you replace all our placements within these areas. A lot of people use the rectangle tool, as I used it so far. Later on, I'm going to integrate the frame tool, which the frame tool is the new one. It was added a few years ago, and it was a game changer by doing this. This is the reason why they brought this tool in Photoshop, for this very reason. Let me play the video so you can get more familiar with how
The frame tool allows you to create placeholder frames, which can later be filled with placed images. This convenient tool is perfect for planning compositions, organizing your design elements, or creating mockups. To access the frame tool, press K on your keyboard or find it in the toolbar. Click and drag to draw a frame on the canvas. You can add an image to the frame by dragging and dropping directly into the frame. It will automatically scale to fit the frame's dimensions. Both the frame and the image inside can be selected, resized, or rotated together or separately. To select the frame or image independently, use the Move tool. Click to select the frame and double-click to select the image. To replace an image in a frame, simply drag and drop a new image on top of the frame. The new image will automatically scale to fit the frame, replacing the previous image.
So that was really nice and short and sweet. What I wanted to do, though, however, is keep that in mind, because the next thing is seeing how we're going to replace these boxes with placement holders, or the frame tool. Okay, so either or, let's create a wireframe design or a grayscale wireframe design. I'm going to use this rectangle tool for now, but what the gentleman earlier was considering was this other one here called the frame tool. Please distinguish the difference between this and this. So this is to actually put real images in there, which we will. But before that, I want to create a grayscale design composite, which will be this one here. Okay, so let's go ahead and build this one. I'm going to create a nice frame all the way across. This will be my hero banner. I'm going to add a stroke element. Okay, we're going to make it 2 pixels. We can even do like a rounded rectangle. Right, I'm going to hide the guides if I want. Here we can put some text, and we can also put some graphics. So for now, I'm going to just use the type tool. Say this is a hero banner. Make this nice and grayscale. Hero banner. Wow. Spelling's off a little bit here. Right. Some more content perhaps underneath. No problem. Simply just draw a text box. This could be filled up with some contents. And make this regular size. This is how you can actually put content in your website. The whole section will stretch out to the full width of the width of the website, just like Amazon. We have here the example of the full width going across. Now, if you have like a background color, then you match the color simply, but the width is no different than the width I'm portraying right here. Okay, it's just going to extend more like an image instead of a box attribute or element. Now, the other placement holders will include the other boxes. I'm going to use a rectangle tool again. I'm going to go ahead and place maybe 2 images. So we'll do one here. This will be filled in with a color. I'm going to go with a nice light color here. I'm going to take out the stroke, so there'll be no stroke, just a simple element. You can also option drag shift. You can copy elements. So you can reuse boxes basically, which makes it quite convenient and easy to use. All right, then I'm gonna put some more perhaps. I'm gonna use some other ones here. We're gonna go, maybe this one will be the 3. So here's the one. Okay. And this one will also have no stroke. I can just option drag this over here. So there's 2, there's 3. And notice how the nice design or the breakdown fit perfectly within my column structure breakdown. I can then select all the rectangles here, move them up or down according to my design. I can just move these elements as well up or down according to my designs, right? All this will be nicely suited in your HTML when you're ready to build the actual website. The footers, and I can make this big as I want. I can go to let me press D for default. I want to keep this black and white. If I go to the crop tool, Okay, I can just go down here and make the website as long as I want, right? I can keep building sections and stuff. I can make this like as big as I want, okay? I want you to keep that in mind. And keep the layers organized, okay? Because right now this will be the body copy. So I'm gonna select all these layers that I made so far and press Command or Control G and group them and call this the body or the main and put the body underneath the head. So you got the header here and the body over here. You see that? The footer can go perhaps down this way. So if I click over here, deselect, I use another rectangle element all the way across. Okay. And I'm just going to change this fill to something like that. I'm going to use the type tool, deselect that. Simply go copyright stuff. Sure. Nice and small. Usually they put the credits of the website, what year it was updated and things like that. So this can go in the middle here. I want to center it perfectly. I'm just going to go like that. Look, Command A, go up here, middle. Okay. Middle. And this could be your setup. All in all, this is what we're building here, all in Photoshop, nice and easy. Nothing too hard here with building these things. Just gonna select these three, just move them down a bit, just to give it more space. Okay. All right, so we're gonna save this as a low fidelity wireframe because this can become any type of website that you see out there right now. Okay, so I'm gonna, by the way, let's make this the footer. This rectangle and this lorem ipsum here, Command or Control G. Double click on the group, call it footer, and move the footer all the way down this way. So I got the header, I got the body, and I have the footer. All right, I save this as a low fidelity wireframe. Simply do another save, and that is that. The next thing we're going to do now is convert this into a high fidelity design. And that's quite easy to do. Considering you did the low fidelity, you can also do the high fidelity, depending on the effort you put in, the time, and everything else to get it going. Okay. Now, the frame tool that I introduced, there's another method that we used to use before, an old school method. Let's say it's time for me to put images in here and I want this to be an image. Well, you would select this element. By the way, let me go to the module here to have you download this stuff. So go to your Photoshop module. This is the Photoshop website. Inserting images to your website design. These are just old videos. So the layers.zip, we did that already. Web page image sources. Let's make this visible for you. A web template PSD. You can see that one as well. This one as well. This one as well. So I'm making you access all these files here so we can access them. But I am going to ask you to download the web's image sources once we can use it. I'm going to go to my desktop here. And if you extract this folder, you'll have all these different image sources for you to use. You'll have pictures, just images that I downloaded, just so you can speed up the process. Look, we even have like a texture here, just so you can have something to comply with this exercise. Okay. So because now I can go to Photoshop and show you how to implement images and make this look as real as possible in terms of a real website. All right. Any questions so far? I know I'm recording this, but that's okay. You can still ask questions. Wednesday, when I see you in class, I'll give you some time to get this project started. This is your last project. I'm going to introduce it. I'm going to talk about it again. And this is you're going to be designing a website project. Okay. After the Facebook advert's done, you're going to now design an actual website prototype or a concept prototype for a website using Photoshop. And this will help you not only teach you how to do this, but also extrapolate all the sources and assets and make it a real website. Put it into the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, and all the good stuff. All right, so let's continue going forward then. If you don't have any questions, right away before I start the next section, I'm going to save this as a high fidelity wireframe. So I'm going to call this high fidelity wireframe on the desktop. And then I'll start implementing colors, fonts, and things like that. So this color here that I have, this gray, I'm going to simply double click on it and change it to like a nice red maybe. Maybe red's a little too strong. I'm going to maybe perhaps go to another color just to soften it up a little bit. Right, that's a nicer color. All right. And then we're gonna maybe put a background color. We'll keep it white. We'll just keep this nice and simple here with images. This one here, I wanted to change the color. Notice how when I click on something, it automatically opens that layer. So all you have to really do is double click and pick another color here to go by, okay? Maybe I'll grab this color here and really produce a light version of it. All right, and then this will also have no stroke, right? And the colors can be, if I want to match them, I just simply double click, triple click, use the same color here. Same thing with this, leave it black or gray for the purpose of doing that part. Okay. Now back to this one, to place images. What you want to do, the old school method was to select the box, right, like this, go to File, place embedded or linked, depending on which way you want to associate the image with the um, with the prototype. And then we go to the folder called image sources that I just asked you to download. We're going to select the image, which is right here. And then the image will basically, cover the area like this. I'll just resize the image. And the image will be placed in that box. But it's not that simple because Photoshop is, let's face it, it's not a page layout program. It's a digital imaging software. So what you have to do is you have to just right click and create clipping mask. Well, make sure this is in front of this layer underneath it. So basically they're stacked on top of each other. And if that's the case, you right click and you create a clipping mask and the image goes inside the box. Or you can just hold Option and you can do this. Now, this was an older tactical method that it's still being used today. Nothing wrong with this. But because the discovery of the new frame tool and the way I just introduced it to you it's much better, more flexible, and the way to do it these days. 2025, let's do it with the new methods that developers introduced to us. So instead of doing this, I'm going to do it the other way. Okay, so I'm just going to press undo, Command Z. I'm going to delete that layer and show you how to integrate this new frame tool. The way this frame tool works is you click on it and you simply draw a frame on top of the existing box, right? Or you can just convert that box into a frame and delete it after. Don't forget, this is just like a template placement holder for now, okay? So whichever way, if you do it this way, you have to make sure View Snap to Layers is on as well, because now it'll snap to like the layers, and then you can go File, Place Embedded, and grab the image, and it's gonna go in there. Then you just double click on the image, which is over here. Look on the right. Placement holder, image. See how it's side by side? It's no longer top and bottom. You click on the image, you press transform, and you just resize. You press enter. So this is the more modern way it's done. Let's do it again over here. So again, you can just delete this, make a new box. Okay. Draw a box, go to File, Place Embedded. Okay, pick an image and get it going. Okay, if the image is too small, click on the image thumbnail, Control T, just scale it up to size. Okay, like that. As soon as you deselect, go to the move tool, deselect to click like that. Okay. This is okay. Just remember, you can just move the whole thing after a round. Okay. You can resize the whole thing. You can, let me just open up the guides here. Okay. You can resize it this way too. Watch this. You can click on the frame or the content. Frame, content. If it's the frame, you can extend the width parameters. You can do things like that. So you can make it as big as you need it to make it, right? Right. You can also hold Command or Control, click to scale. But if it's the image, then you have to use the image that way, okay? So if you want to do it that way, that works as well, okay? With the frame tool. Or drawing a frame tool instead of that tool. But to convert these into frame attributes, what you want to do is you can also do that. You can click on this box, right? You can right click and you can also do what's called, where is it here? Convert to frame. I don't know if you're familiar with Figma, has a similar feature when you frame multiple objects in a group. When you frame them, you can do what's called vertical or horizontal scrolling. Very similar feature, except in Photoshop, you're converting an object, which is a placement holder of a rectangle, to a frame to place an image. So this grayscale becomes a frame. You give it a name, call it whatever, okay? And then here you put the image. You go File, Place Embedded, and you place the image that you want to put inside that frame. Okay, let's go with this one here. Boom, nicely fitted. Okay, so you can then click on the image or the frame or both and resize them accordingly. Next one, same thing. You click on the rectangle. Okay, convert to frame. You'll see the X in the middle. That means it's a frame. File, place embedded. A lot of shoes in this example, eh? All right. And the next one again, if you want to make a frame, you can make one, or you can just delete that, go over here and make a new frame. Make sure you deselect everything and just make a new frame from scratch, okay? So whether you want to convert an existing box to a frame or make a new frame, it's up to you. And yes, you can drag and drop. Look, you see how I made the frame? Look at this. Look at this. I like this about that frame. You can just drag and drop. See? Drag and drop. Command T. Actually, let's Command T, enter. If you don't like that picture, maybe it's too repetitive, let's use another picture. Let's use this picture here. There we go, right? Double click. Or just click on the picture and you can move the content in the picture within the frame box. Okay, so the choice is yours, how you want to approach this. It's just a matter of utilizing the frame tool the way I showed you in conjunction with placing images, texts, and all the other Photoshop features you already know, and putting them on a website type of approach. Okay, the website design. I just have a little thing that went all over the place here, so I'm just going to drag this to the body just to organize my stuff. I want to keep the header separate. I want to keep the body separate, and I want to keep the footer separate. So everything is separate and organized inside my layers, and I can even color them just to keep it better organized. I'll do magenta for that one. The body, I'm gonna do like green, and the footer, I'm gonna do blue. Okay. You can see here my groupings and my workflow here of my organization. I can sometimes subsequently, I like to add a third layer for more content. Perhaps I want to put some content over here. So I like to perhaps lock the body layer. I like to lock the body layer, zoom in here and put some extra additional content, perhaps in this middle area. To do that, I'm going to use the rectangle tool. Just put some content, like put maybe a box here so it's visible. I'm going to make this white and perhaps make it even transparent and put some content in there, right? So the content will be in there. You can put this up here, down there, whatever I want to do with this. It's up to me. Okay. A lot of people do screens and then put content in there. So then I use the type tool and this is an add vert for shoes. Okay. Make this a little smaller. Don't do that. So maybe just double click. Doesn't like to listen sometimes, right? There we go. This bottom thing is bothering me. Anyways, whatever. I'm gonna put this here like that. Gets a little finicky sometimes. That's because also I'm sharing my screen. Sometimes I notice it does that. Yeah, just try to copy this a little easier if you can. Maybe zooming in might help too sometimes. Okay, so if you zoom in, it's gonna help too. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so you can put some content here on top of objects, elements, boxes, call to action, icons. You can get stuff from Illustrator if you want, Photoshop, back and forth. As you can see, this can become a product of a real website. And I'm following my 12 column, layout guides. Okay. So therefore, everything's divisible like 1, 2, 3. I can do 4, right? I can do 6 times 1, right? Each one. It's up to you how many divisibles you like to produce. Okay. And this is how you can basically build any type of website and produce a low fidelity and a high fidelity prototype template. Now, let me just organize this a little better here. Since I asked you to put this content here, I'm going to press Command G and call this content. And always keep that layer separately so you can edit it further and stuff like that, right? So I'm going to save this as a high fidelity wireframe because right now I showed you how to do both from scratch or convert one from the other. You have to hand in both, okay? So now if I just put this away for a second, here's a low fidelity, high fidelity, right? You can build anything and anything from either or, okay? Now, when I see you next time, first I'll give you time to get this started and executed. We'll do like a review in person, but I will show you how to convert this into an actual real web page from Photoshop. A little bit of coding, not too much because Photoshop will do all the work, but it's easy for you to put this into HTML and make it an actual website once you can extract the content and optimize it for a website. So it's easy to, once you have the plan, to build this semantically in HTML. Okay. All right, now let's talk about the project a little bit because that's important. And then we're gonna slowly wrap it up from there. This is the Amazon example. Making sure the project is still there. Alrighty, so we are, this is like kind of class. I know it says 10, 11, we already did that. We're going to class 12, okay? This is when we get into the Wednesdays class. I just want to cover some extra stuff here, okay, that we kind of left over from the last part. But I did want to give you that in-class assignment that you did. So that's great. Let's see, by the way, all of you guys put this thing together. Okay, so we got Carla, Olu. Make sure you save. I can open this Olu if you want, but a WebP, I guess it's not recognizable here. Yasmin, very good. Gurjab, Ravi, Anisha, she flattened the tip. That's fine. Okay, so I want to see all of you partake in these things when we do this stuff in person. Okay, so please continue that. Okay, because we'll accept it and consider it. So now, like I said, once we finish this module today, we're going to move on to number 12. And then we got number 13. Okay. 14 is just a review. So we got technically two big classes ahead of us, maybe three, considering the animation and stuff we have to do. Okay. So see what these other files right here. So web template PSD, I'm just gonna quickly show you what that is. And also the website mockup, just so you get an idea of all these examples. These are just examples, right? And desktop mobile PSD. So these are all demonstrations of how you can flexibly kind of translate these to other assets and other examples, okay? So this is the desktop, okay? All it is the design, header, body, footer. If it's a mobile design, you do it a lot less in width. So it's like instead of like 12 columns, this is like 2 columns, even 1 column you can do, okay? Because when you resize a website, it becomes everything's 1 column. When you have a desktop version, is 12 columns or as many columns as it does to fulfill the layout. This is another mock-up of a website. Okay, for this one, it's more like an exercise for you to put it back together, like the truck website. Just open that up to show you. Oh, this video here. Another 12-column example. With this one, you can play around with it and put this all together. As you can see, this is more like a real website that you can you see how it's built, right? And you can see here, testimonials. This is in Spanish, by the way. It's like a Spanish template. But another way a website's constructed from a different perspective using the 12-column guide setup, okay? For logo, menus, images, right? No different than what we did this evening. Another example for you to, play with and kind of investigate and mess around with. What else did I give you there for today's examples? I also gave you a wireframe example, okay? I made one from scratch, so you can either do something like this, or you can do one that looks like that, okay? So I did that already with you as well. So everything I'm showing you today is in the example folder. I'm also going to upload these files, if you like, in today's lesson, just to keep things up to date, okay? So we'll maybe upload those in here. I'll clean it up a little bit. And then, so I'll do that. I'll do this Wednesday. I'll upload the latest files. What I want to do now is basically talk about the project that you have, the big project. Let's do it at the very end of the semester. Okay. So that's your last project for this term. There's one more assignment And you can do that one in a few weeks near the end as well. So one assignment, one project, that's it. Okay. And this project is fairly straightforward. Okay. So I'm going to introduce it to you right now. It's the web page design prototype project. So there it is right here. You're going to create a one-page responsive scrolling website of your choice in Photoshop and follow the criteria points. So you're going to create a desktop size template, single main page. The format's going to be 1920 1080. You can also do 1800 by 1800, what I did today. And this is, you can start with 1400. Okay, but you can also do today what I did, 18 by 1800, whatever you prefer, as long as it fits within that ratio. I want to see layer masks and selections to show transparency, um, various image placements methods to be demonstrated with graphics. So today we use the frame tool. That's one way you can integrate that. I want to see a grayscale wireframe mockup. So a low fidelity grayscale, like I showed you today. A high fidelity complete mockup showing the nav bar along with additional assets. I did all this tonight, okay? I just didn't do layer masks. That's something we did last week. But if you don't really have a need to do that, you don't have to. I just threw it in there just so I can tickle your imagination. Generation of image assets in HTML. I'm going to show you this next time. A Photoshop format is going to be submitted as the final asset. Mobile conversion size to fit most current device sizes, that's optional. I do want to show you how to convert the website into a mobile responsive website. So that's something I'll cover later on as well. So for now, if you do most of the part already demonstrated, you'll be already halfway there. The other half is producing these things, which is not all that difficult. Okay, so I hope this is just an example of a visual that another layout design that was done. Okay, this is due in 6 days. That's wrong, so I'm going to change that. '21st, okay? Yeah. I think our last day is the 21st. If not, it might be 23rd. I'll see. I don't know if when's our last day? Do you guys know when the last day of school is for you? I'll do 21st for now just to be safe, to give you as much time as I can, and that'll be it for now. And then we'll see when the last day is actually assigned, okay? Righty. Any questions? When is your last day? Do you guys know your last day of school? When is your
It's on
last
the
day?
22nd.
22nd.
Yes.
Okay, so then so the 21st it is then, okay? Because that's the day before the last day. Because that's when I'll see you. If you need till the 22nd, I'll give you an extra day, okay? How about that? All right. Any questions so far? Okay, so that summarizes all the methods and steps that we demonstrated how to convert a website from scratch using Photoshop's low fidelity prototyping techniques, converting it into a high fidelity prototype. And next time when we do this, I'm going to show you how to produce an actual website um, assets, the assets that go in the website, the HTML version, and all the other important necessary steps and methods to get this thing going and published. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now. Have a great evening.